Herbert's 100 harem. Before he can even pull the trigger, the scale in the vacuum suddenly starts to superheat and the serpent twitches. He turns off the beam without firing the weapon as the creature's movement causes the vacuum tunnel to rake across its scales. This leaves a small line of burning hot iron that almost seems runny. It's that physically sensitive? He hadn't expected that. The creature is clearly capable of feeling a sudden fluctuation of temperature across its molten iron skin. Or perhaps in order to survive, it needs to vent an absurd amount of heat. How warm are its insides? The heron is sheathed even as the serpent scans the area. At the distance he's at, he's a speck to the creature and again, too small to be food or a threat in its mind. Its tongue flicks out a few times, but his sealed atmosphere and the sealed atmosphere of the girls means that it tastes nothing unusual or worthy of attention. The burning line has already cooled and the beast settles down to sleep once again. All right, so it's sensitive to temperature fluctuations, and a vacuum means it can't vent its heat properly, meaning it starts burning. He skids down the track in the wall a bit and leaps to the opposite side. He's much closer to the serpent now, roughly 2 city blocks away. Although the fact it's still a target so easy that a child could hit it is concerning. He slowly unlimbers a plasma rifle and takes aim before reconsidering. He adjusts his aim and fires. It's as he fears. The shot doesn't even make it halfway before the volcanic gases dissipate the shot. He's going to have to be borderline standing on the creature if he wants to use plasma to attack it. So he holsters the plasma rifle again. It's just dead weight. He draws his next weapon. Fire won't work, and he'll need a pop gun if he wants to hit it hard enough with a kinetic rifle, and to be frank, he doesn't have any sort of footing that would let him use that thing without being sent tumbling down the canyon walls and possibly even to his death. He instead draws the caster gun. It's pre-loaded with a blizzard round and he takes careful aim. The gun lights up and a swirl of pale blue energy starts to spin around the barrel in 3 places, first clockwise, then counter, then clockwise again. The weapon fires and the hyper-condensed chunk of ice and axiom rockets downwards. Then everything goes to shit as the serpent senses the danger and all but throws itself to the side. His eyebrows go up as the monster scans the area, its eyes dismissing him again. But it does see something else and starts to move. He chases immediately, because he'll be damned if he lets that dumb animal so much as touches one of his girls. He lands on the creature's back and the slight popping and sizzling sound lets him know that some kind of debris were on the bottom of his boots. He races up the enormous creature, loading his next glacier round into the caster gun, even as the gigantic snake begins to look over his wives. Then the serpent is suddenly sent careening to the side, and he nearly loses his balance and struggles to keep a grip on his weapon. "Thank you," he sends into the communication link. "Kill the beast," Isma tells him. No inflection, no amusement. She wants the monster dead and wants it dead at his hands. He preps the caster gun and races up the side. The serpent's axiom sensing abilities send it berserk as it tries to turn around enough to bite him. The thrashing causes it to hit the wall, and as it rebounds off the canyon wall, he takes his shot. The mildly dazed creature misses the danger for a fraction of a second, and at this range that's 2 seconds too long. The head of the serpent is suddenly engulfed in steel-hard ice. The creature goes still and seems to pass out. The tension it was using to climb the canyon walls is lost as the gigantic creature begins to fall. Herbert falls with it. Then he angles his descent to the canyon wall, and with axiom spinning around his left hand and foot, he digs in and stops his movement. Fingers and foot gouging a trench in the slate and obsidian, he reloads the caster gun with a 3rd glacier shot. "I didn't expect you to miss," Isma chides him. "I didn't expect it to dodge," Herbert remarks off-handedly as he watches the gigantic chunk of serpentine iron slam into an outcropping and shatter like glass. The chunks rain into the lava below. Or is it still technically magma since they're technically beneath the crust of the world? It nearly got the girls, Yzma says. I know. He answers. He's not the slightest bit happy with himself about that close call. They weren't ready. They panicked. I wasn't ready. I panicked. You killed the beast and didn't hesitate for a moment. You screwed up, but you solved the problem. If it was just you and the beast, it would have ended the same way. If I wasn't here and the girls were alone, you'd be a widower, Yzma says. I know, I fucked up. You? You tested an opponent, and when things took a turn for the worse, you acted immediately. That was the right thing to do. You tested its reactions, tested your weapons, and went for a kill shot. That was the proper course of action. You can't completely control a hunt, but the girls, I need to help their training personally. They should have scattered. They should have attacked and warded the beast off. They should have done any number of things, but instead they huddled behind me. I need to give them some good habits before we continue. They can't just hide behind another hunter. They need to be active parts of the hunt, otherwise they're going to get someone, likely themselves, killed. I see. Regardless, I'm going to be working to my own self-improvement. Yes, that's why I don't have to. I've seen how you respond to these things. You screwed up and you never want to screw up again. That's a very good answer. We're going to need to stay here for a few more days and get them moving and thinking a little more properly. It's easy to move in this heat compared to moving in water, and they can still hear the danger here. In the water, if you rely on sound alone, you'll only fool yourself, Yzma says in a worried tone. All right, hopefully our pilots don't mind. He muses as he sheathes his caster gun and looks down again to where the lava serpent's corpse fell into the magma. There's a lot of smoke coming up from where the corpse hit the magma. Are you sure there was nothing we could eat out of the body? Do you want to try to catch hundreds of kilotons of burning hot metal? Yzma asks. The amusement is back in her voice. Maybe. I'm curious. If we had a ship ready to swoop down and hit it with some magnetic cables, we might be able to save it. Herbert muses out loud and there's a laugh. Yzma's good mood is officially back. Been done. By the time you can crack open the iron, the insides are reduced to charcoal. Not exactly tasty, Yzma replies. And trying to do it to them alive is not only an ethics consideration, but too much trouble to be worth it. Herbert remarks. I get it. You're hungry. It's past lunchtime anyways, Yzma replies. Think they solved the little mystery you left out for them? We'll know in 5 to 6 hours either way. Herbert replies, and that sets off the by now familiar giggling. Still, he'll need to up his own game. He had taken too long to climb up the serpent's back and reload the caster gun. If Yzma hadn't been here, he nearly slaps himself as he watches the ship descend. If Yzma hadn't been here, they wouldn't be here at all. This trip is her idea, so counting on her for the trip is entirely reasonable. He's one man, not an entire bureau, even if he's being trained to theoretically do the work of an entire dedicated bureau. There's a sort of quiet sense of shame as they all fly back to the colony. The girls are ashamed of themselves and don't have much to say. He doesn't want to get in the way of what they're learning, but he also wants to help them. There's also his own sense of failure to deal with. He should have been closer to the serpent to give it less of a chance to dodge that first shot. He would have been able to, at least, try to dissect it then. But no, he played it safe and for it, missed the first shot when it sensed the danger. The hunt had technically gone flawlessly. The creature was dead, no one was hurt, and there was a minimum of shots fired. Only 2 pieces of ammunition were even used. The rest were already recharged from the ambient axiom. But he still felt like a failure. He needs to up his game and help the girls train as well. He really needs to find a way to make this more easy to deal with. He doesn't say a thing as they disembark. No one's saying anything. He needs to figure out a way. A family training day? No one left out, and it is something that occurs every few days. Make sure their response is to... Yzma has a hand on his shoulder and he looks up at her. "Can we talk?" she asks, and he nods. The helmet is finally peeled off, and he is somewhat surprised how warm it feels outside the suit. He had adjusted well to the internal chill of the armor. If nothing else, that proved that the thermal resistance was not only good to go, but has had a very successful field test. "All right, let's talk," he says, and they break away from the rest of the group. "You need to relax," Yzma tells him, and he looks at her oddly. "You didn't make a mistake. They did, and it wasn't even that great a mistake. Little screw-ups happen, and they happen a lot. Failure will teach them far more than succeeding could. So relax. This is just a hiccup. No one is dead and nothing is lost. The hunt went well, but we did find something to improve on. That is a win. We won. Bask in the victory," Yzma tells him. After a few moments, Herbert lets out a sigh and just sort of slumps. "I know, it's just, when I'm out hunting, it's like being out in the field, and a mistake like that can and does get people killed. Perfect is impossible, but anything less will cause a fuck-up that will kill people, and to be honest, I already have a few times. They weren't undaunted. They weren't on my team, but if I was a little better, a little faster, then there are some people that would still be alive. To make matters worse, I can't even bandage things over with anything other than an anonymous turn of good luck for the survivors. My work. It's just such high stakes. Hard to unwind? Yes," he answers before sighing again. I need to take a bath or something and really relax before we go with tonight's appearance. Otherwise, I might accidentally kill someone." He starts pulling off more of the armor and setting it aside. "I know logically that the hunt went off nearly perfectly, but damn it, that scare at the end. I know. I'd be worried if you weren't getting this worked up. It may be rare to see a patriarch rise, but rise you have, with all the protective instincts and sheer force of will it implies," she remarks, and he pauses. "This trip is about more than me being a hunter, isn't it? It's about a lot of things. Hunting is one. Getting to know family is another, as is relaxation." She doesn't deny the implied statement. "What is it with old people trying to mold me? Well, when your elders see a lot of potential, we can't help but at least poke at it, if not mold it entirely. Besides, you should be honored. A matriarch is trying to forge you into a patriarch," Yzma answers cheerfully. "That normally implies seduction. I don't want to leave my granddaughter out in the cold." Yzma dismisses with an amused smile. "That, and after some of the stunts you pulled, I'm going to be keeping my distance in that field." "Too spicy for you?" she teases. "Sure, let's go with that," he replies in a mocking tone. "Feeling better?" "A bit, grandmother, although I'll still be having a bath to calm down a little more. I don't want to accidentally cripple the next Batwoman," he remarks. "Is there anything I could do? I think there was a crossover with the xenomorphs once." "No," she answers somewhat tartly. "You'll only need to slim down to look the part." "No means no, young man." I bet that's a turn of phrase rare in the galaxy. It is, which is why it's all the more important when it's said. I'm just going to concede this one, as arguing will go into very uncomfortable directions. Besides, you're a little big to be Catwoman.